So, history of hip hop. And of course, this is something that I spend a lot of time talking about, as you already know. But history of hip hop starts with the story of being able to overcome all odds. We're talking Bronx, New York, 1973, an area that had been pretty much left to its own devices by the government. Nobody really wanted to care about what was happening in that area because it was a lot of poverty, it was a lot of broken down homes and things like that. But you had a lot of kids, and like these kids had nothing to do. Right? But they knew that they didn't want to just stay there. They had talent like crazy. So one of the first things credited with the beginning of hip hop is, of course, Kool Herc and all the crazy things that Kool Herc did with, you know, the giant speakers and the loud parties. That became the birthplace of the movement because he started with the merry-go-round technique of crossing records over and everything. Oh, yeah. You know, the DJ element was born, and then you had MCs that would do these rap ciphers there, rap meaning, you know, rhythm and poetry.
Yeah.
So that became a thing too. And then of course, because of the concept of the merry-go-round technique from going from one DJ record to the other, you have the technique of breaking the record. And the dancers that got up and started dancing on those breaks were called the breakers. Some of the first ones out there, of course, giving, you know, much respects and love to Dancing Doug, who hung out with Kool Herc, Coco Rock and the gang and everything, which he's still alive. He's actually out here in Atlanta quite a bit. And those guys put it on. They're the first generations. And then from the 70s when it started to the 80s when it blew up, you start hearing about like Rocksteady Crew, you know, talking about Crazy Legs, you know, Mr. Wiggles, you know, Ken Swift, one of my mentors, Honey Rockwell, Oprah Romero, you know, these guys and ladies that were putting it on and taking it worldwide for the first time, inspiring people like my parents, because my first touch base with the history of hip hop in the movement was actually my dad. Mm-hmm. And of course, him telling me about all these people, and then years later, you know, meeting some of them, that became a big anchor for me to not only just know the stories, you know, see the movies, Beat Street, Break Into, Electric Boogaloo, but also to hear firsthand accounts from people like, you know, Michael Chambers, aka Boogaloo Shrimp, who came out here a few years ago, and then talk to like Hundy and Orko and hear about what it was like back then. And then some of their students like Crumbs, who also inspired me. You know, that whole lineage and story has been something that a lot of people don't know too much about, but it is a huge part because even through all of that, that's just the dance element. Hip hop's history has always been one of overcoming circumstance with ingenuity and character. So I always like to try to make sure people give back to that mindset of it, you know, give back to it. But that's just been with me. But for you, what you got going on with that?
Ironically, my knowledge of the history of hip hop actually didn't start until I met you. Ironically, right?
Wow.
Crazy. So I was raised in an R&B home. You know, we were like all rhythm and blues. We loved listening to people like Aretha Franklin, you know, Luther Vandross, like stuff like that. And it wasn't that I didn't know about it, because my brother, he was very heavy into rap. Like he listened to 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, KRS-One, things like that. And I was like, I loved it, mind you. But my actual inspiration in hip hop and me really getting interested in it was actually my first introduction to Missy Elliott. It was either Gossip Folks or it was what was it? So my first album I ever bought was Cookbook. But basically when I saw her music videos, her raps were amazing in the first place. As a female rapper, I never saw that. I didn't think that was a thing. But seeing how that impacted me and how I could actually really I could be that person. I could be a rapper if I wanted to. I could do this if I wanted to. And it was something that really helped me kind of get into the history when it came to hip hop. I learned a good amount about KRS-One himself because, I mean, I grew up with it. Might as well listen to it, you know, like really get into it. I heard about Biggie, Tupac, listened to a lot of songs. Those were the vibe. I did a lot of just listening to a lot of songs. Like my mom, she got me these over-the-ear headphones and I would be checked out of the world. Just listening to the history, listening to like the culture. And I never saw it as anything like really egregious, evil, malicious, or anything of the sort. I knew that hip hop itself was something that was, it was art. It spoke of the people that were in it, and it spoke of their experiences within it. There was always a story. Mind you, I started listening to Eminem at some point, but those were my angsty years. Don't worry.
Still art.
But exactly, but it was still art. Like that man, I can't say he wasn't a wordsmith. You know, it was lyricism, or at least that aspect of hip hop was a very big part for me, and it translated into dancing for me. It translated into not only am I able to write these lyrics and it makes sense, or now I can rap on this beat because I was a rapper for a bit. We ain't gonna talk about the years, but I was a rapper for a bit. But I was able to translate over into dancing as well, different styles. Learned about the fact that there were different styles of dance. I just knew about choreo heads. So my history really started with you, and I have learned a lot, especially since when I met him, I started learning breaking, and that's how I actually learned the history, watching him teach his classes. He always made sure to tell the kids the history, why this move was like this, who started it, where it came from, and he is such a big head of it.
Dancing in the street dance culture. It is not the first street dance, locking is, but it is the official dance and the fourth element and pillar of hip hop, okay? That being said, it comprises itself of 5 main categories of movement. You have top rocks, transitions, also known as go downs, or down rocks, depending on who you ask. You have footwork, patterns that usually travel either in circles or out. They hop, skip, turn, spin. And it comprises a movement that centers around your hands, feet, and core. Power moves, using your core to generate centrifugal force using a circular motion. It's the pinnacle of the dexterity, agility, and strength of breaking. And you have freezes. Wrap it up into a picture. Take all of that energy and expel it in a form that comes off as a photo finish, an ending of a sentence, pretty much brings everything to a close.
When we decided to start the cipher, we had a lot of questions, or rather I did. I had a lot of questions about, okay, so how do we do this? Where do we go? What do we do? And all that stuff. The basic stuff that you should be asking when you want to start an event in the first place. So it started out with us looking at different places. We did a lot of walking, a lot of driving and whatnot. And it started out at like amphitheaters. Like the first one was in the Woodstock Amphitheater. What was it called that?
The Woodstock Amphitheater?
Yeah.
No, it was just the We on Fire Cipher.
No, I'm saying like the place we were at. You're funny. The place that we were at.
Yes, it was the Woodstock Amphitheater.
Okay. Well, the Woodstock Amphitheater. I can't. The Woodstock Amphitheater was the first place that we actually went to. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 there. What's one thing that
First couple were there.
Yeah, the first couple actually. And that's just because we were still scouting other locations. We realized that having locations outside, it helps with money for one thing, but it also helped to bring people like bystanders, people walking their kids, walking their dogs, and then you have their kids out.
They walk in their kids.
I meant to say
Some of them,
walking.
they need the kids.
You're
to
right,
get
some
out
people
and
do that.
something.
Either way, people out there having fun with their families. Basically, it was something that kind of helped. It was like, okay, this draws people over. Okay, so they hear a lot of music. A lot of people love hip hop music in the first place. They just act like they don't. And they would hear the music, they would see us dancing, and they would come over. Sometimes the kids would jump in, sometimes the adults would jump in a little bit. It would really depend, but we realized that outside locations were the best thing for that. So we started to kind of go place to place, different places in Atlanta. We hit Little 5 Points. We hit Marietta Square a couple times, Decatur Square. I'm pretty sure.
Decatur Square twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we hit that one more than once.
Mm-hmm.
We hit a few places actually all over Atlanta. We even went to different states, but before we could even get to that, we had to figure out the formula. We had to figure out, okay, how does this work? How do we get this out? And a lot of it was marketing online. This man right here.
Resources.
The guru. He knows what to do online. He knows how to word things. He knows how to appeal to different audiences, not just the professional side, but also the street side as well. He knows how to make these flyers a good mix between the two. And not that I can't, but it's him. He's very good at that. He's very much the social media head. He'll be on there doing those things, and I'm still getting used to social media. I'm not gonna lie. Social media is not the thing for me just yet, but we're getting there. But marketing was a very large part of that. It became a very big thing because we started noticing at our events, we would see people we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that is always the best sign because it's like, okay, well, how did you find us? Were you on Facebook? Did you happen to see us on Eventbrite? Did you see us here? You know, things like that. And those were the conversations I had the most enjoyment out of because these are people that don't know me from Adam, don't know him from Adam, but they wanted to come to this event because it was something that appealed to them. And that is a very big part of that, was finding the appeal so that we could bring more people in. this point, well, where we're at now in 2023, actually 2022 is when we started, we were able to get vendors in. We were able to get more people involved in it. And not only that, we don't have to charge our vendors. We prefer not to. I prefer not to charge anyone coming in because this is supposed to be a stress-free environment. At least that's how I wanted it to be. Not everybody's event's going to be that way, but I wanted to make sure that even if it made me come out of pocket, I care not. I want everybody else to have a good time.
And that's kind of why the layout, and I tell people all the time, it's not my event, it's your event, and you hired me as your organizer and coordinator. So, I mean, I know it's common knowledge now, because especially since, with last year, we had the 50 years of hip hop and everything, people talk about elements, and we already know, DJ, MC, graffiti, the b-boy, aka the street dance element, but the cool thing about it is that it wasn't just the b-boy element. That is the first hip-hop style of street dance. However, I mean, this thing has grown, because if you want to go back to the history of it, party dances started off in those parties that Cohort was throwing. So even that element, even you see that now today. But I guess cardinal, if we're looking at directions, cardinal styles, you have locking, of course, breaking, popping, animation, because it comes from popping, and then you have crump, you'd have, ticking and waving, all the way forward. You have light feet from New York, you got the jerkin movement and the party dance movement that is now taking over it, as well as all of the trend dances that are coming up on social media platforms. And I guess that's kind of where a lot of people end up finding dance now. However, there are still elements and foundational backgrounds to these other styles, and that's what we end up trying to teach, because without those elements, it can be hard to try to really develop the same sensations that created these moves, the same energy, the same mindset. And I know most people are like, oh, it's easy to just jump on TikTok or do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, all right, you can do that. But what about the technique behind it? What about where it came from? The energy that behind that movement? Can you freestyle? Yes. And I mean, again, we love people for what they do. Even when we teach classes, we don't throw no shade. We're like, yeah, you can follow directions. I can choreograph you. Cool. But here's how you make you look like you in that dance style. Here's how you take that energy that you have inside you to want to dance anyways and enhance it. And not to say you're wrong for not knowing it, but let's show it. And that's really where we stick with it because it goes from one end to the other, and it goes full circle as well, just like a cycle.
Yeah.
So as far as elements go for hip hop, I mean, we know you have your cardinal five. You have the DJ element, MC, graffiti, the b-boy element, and then knowledge, which ironically people don't talk about that. And culturally, you have things that happen in hip hop, like freestyle ciphers and dance ciphers. And the biggest thing was, how do we represent a cultural movement without neglecting any of those elements? And I mean, the dancing part's easy. We got dancers of all backgrounds. It's always been all styles are welcome. And we try to keep the floor and the music clean, family friendly for everything. But there's like different things we've done as well to try to help represent the other things that we do. I mean, for example, I think one of the ciphers we had recently, me and Panther got to freestyle. So yeah, that element represented. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as like other ways you wanted to have it implemented, what were you thinking about?
So me being the dancer that I am of different styles, being contemporary, crump, popping, breaking, I wanted to make sure that no one felt left out. So I wanted to make sure that when I was listening to music, I was hearing things that would like kind of help me visualize, help me really get into my headspace about being a dancer and figure out, okay, can I choreograph a piece of this, or can I dance freestyle in my head to this, or can I do this if I wanted to go out right now and dance in whatever style that I felt comfortable doing. And so I would try and find music that was kind of neutral. So we tend to have a lot of funk, because there are lockers there. There are people that love funk music, some poppers even. I try to go for some animation songs, things that have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like fluctuations. Yeah, there's a lot of musicality in it too, because animators, they love their musicality. Love their words. And I will try to find things that have kind of like a softer tone, but not so soft that a popper couldn't actually dance to it as well. Mm-hmm. Or even a breaker, because there are some breakers that I love that they challenge themselves and go for things that have a softer tone as well, and still kill it, love it. I also wanted to make sure that there were some things in there that kids like, some things like trending songs. Now, mind you, that has been very difficult to figure out, because there are a lot of songs that do not have the proper content for kids. At least I'm not going to give it to them. So all of those things actually were very big markers for me to figure out, okay, so how can I make this cipher something where everyone's still involved? We've danced with flamenco dancers. I love that. That was such a learning experience. We've danced with poppers, breakers. We've danced with crumpers. We've had a lot of experience with other people, and so my Shazam is always on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to pick up a song, especially if I like it. All of it at all points, even when I'm shopping, it's always on. So I want to make sure that I have a very good, well-rounded view of music, so that when everyone comes, at least one song, at least one. Like if there's not more than one, like okay, but at least one that they'd be like, okay, well that's my jam, or I haven't heard that, but I'm vibing, something like that, you know.
And I mean, it's even reflected in the crew. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got dancers of all backgrounds in the crew. You know, we got flexes in the crew, you know, representing, and I'm talking about like creative style movement, not just people that are saying they do a style, but then they're just snatching pictures and, you know, stuff off of the internet and saying, oh, I got this style. I'm talking about, we have people that legitimately move in these styles, crumpers too, jukers. There's even, what Soundbite does the Jersey footwear thing. Like, there's so many different styles. And the biggest thing that we've always wanted to do, yeah, house as well, actually. Now that you say that, because they're some of the biggest people to jump into a cipher and just keep it going.
Love the beat.
And then we just want to make sure that no one felt left out, because that's not what the community was about in the first place. All the elements converged together to create these epicenters, and those epicenters are what represented the community. And the community represented a group of people who had an identity that they found when the current community outside of it didn't give them one. That's why we have nicknames. That's why we have our streetwear, which is honestly just how we dress, because most of us couldn't afford to buy brand new clothes. So mom and dad's leftovers became our patchwork jeans, our, you know, overflowing designs, things like that. Graffiti artists, even the people that do the, what is it, the airbrushing?
Oh, bro, that was a
They
time.
were always
I
customized.
still want another shirt like that Tweety Bird I had. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had Lola Bunny too, actually.
Where is it?
I don't know. I can't find it now.
Man, I like a good airbrush shirt. If I can get my hands on another airbrush shirt,
It's all culture.
It is.
It's all, and it's beautiful. Like that I know a lot of people, they like to say graffiti is like it's wrong and it's bad and everything. It's not art, but it is. It's. I mean, if you can put it on paper, if you could put a circle on a piece of paper, it's might call it art. Graffiti is art.
yeah, the only argument that people had legally, if you take it back to like looking at documentaries like Star Wars,
Yeah.
is, oh, you didn't get permission to write on this building that's been burned down 3 times by the landlord who was trying to torch the place to get the insurance money off of it. Shame on you for making the neighborhood look beautiful, for telling people that you have an identity in a community that tells you you don't. Like, okay, right, bet, it's illegal. But there's always canvases, and there's a whole Beltline thing going on in Atlanta now where they're actually allowing graffiti artists to be recognized, respected, and have sections of the city that are dedicated to the artistry.
But I love that. That's essentially part of why I wanted to start the cipher in the first place. It's like I wanted to be another another pillar in the community that was like, even if they don't know me, to kind of help other dancers of all styles be like, okay, well, this has been a rough month. It's been a rough week. I need somewhere to have an outlet without me having to be around these same people, the same environment, the same basement, the same garage, the same house or whatever, the same studio where I gotta pay for it, and then like figure out like and just be able to like just vibe. And that's why I like I like to make sure like everything is all the energy. Like when people come to my events, I don't care if they have a reputation in the community or anything like that. Like I care more about what you're doing here. And if you're bringing the energy that I'm putting out peace. I'm putting out like good energy. I'm putting out like comfort, positivity. I'm putting out the energy that I didn't have when I was younger growing up as a dancer. I didn't have a lot of encouragement. I didn't have a lot of people that were enjoying me dancing, especially when I was starting out. Okay, I looked funny. Oh well.
We all do.
I mean, the fact is, I was still trying. Like, dance is always going to look funny when you first start. It doesn't feel natural. Most dancers, to this day, will tell you, okay, that it's not going to feel natural. You're trying to imitate me, it's not going to feel natural because you're doing it like me and you're not me. It is what it is.
So, I mean, before we get all the way over to the Philippines and how that started off, I mean, the first thing about the cipher that you talked about before that we really, and it made it difficult, only because of the aspect of traveling around, but that is probably the biggest mark of We on Fire Cipher, is the fact that every month it is in a different location. And that was both to make sure that, one, we always have somewhere interesting in Atlanta to highlight, but also to make sure that we always catch the community in its natural elements. There are many pockets of community out there, dancers of all backgrounds, MCs, DJs, people who want to be around this, even non-dancers or people that are outside the hip hop community that love and support the movement, that want to know about it. And because of that, I mean, we've hit some spots that are known, like we've been to Marietta Square. Every dancer in Atlanta know Marietta Square. You know, Fourth Ward Skate Park. Grant Park. We've been to Decatur Square twice.
Yeah. Like I said, Woodstock Amphitheater as well.
And what was another one? Oh, spots that they're known now for dancing.
Yes.
What is it? The brewery.
Oh yeah.
Best in Brewery. Yeah. We actually did a cipher there, and then Red Bull actually used it for the BC One Atlanta that came out last year. That was nice.
Yeah.
You know, and most of them have been outside, but I know we partner with a lot of dance studios and programs that we teach with, and a few of them have opened their doors and allowed us to do cipher events there, or they partner with us and they allow us to expand rather, not expend, because we have to spend anything on this. Maybe drinks.
Just a little bit.
And a little bit of gas.
Yeah.
But mainly to expand what it is that we do. And I would say that expansion, part of it was, it started off, I think, as a joke, honestly, because we have people from other countries that have been following us, like, you know, Maya Tor, you know, her and her mom were both following us. Literally for years, she started following me heavy in 2020, right around the time I met you. And then, of course, she became our first international member. And she just told us how, like, a lot of the stuff that she was going through in the dance scene out there was what we dealt with here.
Yep.
Ironically, I mean, that's how hip hop went international. Anyways, everybody that identified with that same origin point was like, "Oh, bet it's the Indies over here. We're dealing with that over here. Okay, bet it's Saudi Arabia over there. It's Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Africa. You name it, and they have felt the same way. So hip hop moved there, and it gave them a voice and an identity. Same thing with the cipher, because Professor Mark, who literally does everything over there, he was already heading up Hit the Beat Africa.
Even has his degree in it. Like,
has his degree, yeah. And he was like, "Oh, it'd be cool if you did a cipher out here in Africa, you know, because he's from Uganda."
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, it's like it wasn't a joke, because September 24th, 2022.
He started messaging me talking about, "Hey, we have a cipher out here," and I was like, "What? Okay, cool. What do we need? Like, what do you want to?" He started asking me, "What do you want it to look like?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I want it to look like how we do it here. I want to have a DJ. If you guys can have a DJ, because I don't know about your sound system. If you have a sound system, we'll get that too." I asked him for the basics, you know, like, do you have a floor to dance on, so you're not just dancing on concrete or whatever your flooring may be. Do you have lighting? Because I know that their time frames are different, and I think a few times we tried to sync up our times.
Yeah, for meetings. Oh my gosh.
That was a no-go. Like, having our cipher at the same time as theirs is a no-go. Because I think, what was it, 11 o'clock in the morning for us was 7 p.m. for them. And that's when I would always try and get the conversations going, was around 11 o'clock. Sometimes I would stay up like late at night just trying to like really get some details out. But it wasn't super difficult, but it was definitely an adjustment.
That one set the tone for the first ever international We on Fire cipher, and that's where the Expo series got created, because the Expos are for all of the different groups outside of the U.S. 200-something people showed up for the first time for an event they had never even heard of. And it was like, whoa. And I'm not talking about like the song, like, whoa. I'm talking about, it was like, whoa. That's when you know you have arrived. And they made sure they had cinematographers and photographers out there. They sent all the footage back in, put together the YouTube recap. Because I remember you're I'm busy, I'm working. I'm just like, have you seen what you've done here? Like, have you seen? So I put together the whole recap and you saw it, and it was just like,
I was exhausted from work all the time. He made me cry seeing that recap. I was like, oh my God, all these people in a different country wanted to be at my event? Like, what is this, Lord? Like, what's going on? Like, I was touched. I was very, very touched by that.
It was an answer to prayer. That's what it did. And it didn't stop there, because from there, it caught on. We had people that didn't even go to the cipher using hashtag We on Fire Cipher to help promote what they were doing, as well as us. Then, literally, that was Uganda 2022. And we started talking heavily about what we were doing with that. And then 2023, you had Tanzania in February. You had Zambia in July.
Yeah.
You had the Philippines in August. And that's among us having ciphers here every month.
Yeah.
It's just, before we knew what was happening, Mark was like, yo, we're going to have a tour. And I'm like, a tour? Because right now he's talking to some people in Congo about it. It's just like, and the story continues. And it's the same story for every group. Hey, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, we didn't know anybody cared. I mean, Brother Radico, B-Boy Radico, representing us out of Zambia, FyreNation Crew Africa, literally told us that he's creating the Zambia Dance Sport Federation to put dancers on deck for the Olympics as well as bring some attention. In your event, he asked permission so that it could be used to help represent the Zambian dance community out there, because they got flexors out there. They got crumpers, they got breakers, they got poppers, animators, lockers. They love American culture out there, and they are serious about it.
And hip hop over there.
Just like the Philippines.
So those videos that they sent us from the ciphers we had there, I was very shocked to see crumpers. I was very shocked to see as many breakers as there were.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see poppers. I was shocked to see the kids doing it. Like, that was what I
20
loved.
kids, man.
Oh my God. Like, that was amazing.
And that's how you know, because even some of the first generation B-boys and B-girls from scenes in Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zambia traveled to those events to say, hey, we're here to support. Not to clout chase, not to be there trying to like, we got to give you the approval. No, they were just like, thank you. The biggest thing with having those, pioneers from other scenes out there really respect what we do. And I mean, it goes full circle. And I mean, like, honestly, give them a shout out,
First, one thing, like, thank you guys. Like, thank you all in Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, and the Congo, hopefully soon. And thank you as well in the Philippines. Like, you guys have all gone hard for this event. You've made it a very, very impactful thing and a very big thing for me, because like, I didn't know it was going to happen like that. I didn't know it was going to go as far as it did, but it's like I said, I want to take over the world. I didn't know it was going to be as quick either. Like, the dedication and the commitment that you guys put into my event and what I wanted it to look like, not just having the event with your faces or anything like that, but having your community come together with yourself and bringing it from other communities as well. Like, that is a very big thing for me, and I want that here as well, but I'm so happy that you guys did it there. So thank you.
I really thank you guys as well, especially our boots on the ground, Maelstrom, Philippines, and Sami, and Guana, Professor Mark, Adrian Radico over there, as well as our extended crewmates, Corby representing Germany, and JB now representing over in Japan. Thank you guys for keeping the spark of what we do with FyreNation Crew and We on Fire Cypher alive, and always being so proactive to do things with that, because honestly, without the flames that surround this entire bonfire that we call a cypher, there wouldn't be markers for flames all over the place. Now we can actually mark the map and say this cipher goes full circle, internationally and nationally. We do need a map.
We need a map now.
Just so we can actually say, when the Fire Nation attacked, we're not attacking.